Hi, this is Gavin Edson, and you're listening to my mom, Georgia Ensign, on iCannabisradio.com.
Hi, welcome. Gosh, that is one cute little boy there. Welcome to iCannabis Radio. I'm Georgia. It's Monday night, and it is the 18th of February, 2013. And it is another beautiful week in Colorado, and I hope it's beautiful wherever you are. I'm in the studio with the damn best producer ever. Chris, what's happening?
Hello.
Hello. He says he's working hard. And of course, it is the third Monday of the month. And if it's the third Monday of the month, you know that it's Cannabis History Lesson Night with our friend Greg Daurer. Hi, Greg.
Hi, how are you doing, Georgia?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
So before we talk about history, I'd like to talk about the present a little bit. Usually I have some story, some funny story or whatever, that I tell at the beginning just because I do. And gosh, we have been having some. This is not a funny story. Our dog's been having some health problems. We have a big bull mastiff. She's 7 years old, and she has a tendency to eat things like socks, occasional pair of underwear, normally things run their course and all is well with the world, but a couple of times she's had to have some surgery to remove some stuff that have been caught in her intestines, and it's been pretty traumatic and awful and horrible. But she just had surgery a few weeks ago, and I want to give a shout out to Pets on Broadway, which is a fantastic veterinary clinic, and we've had such good luck there, and we've Matt Griffin has been the vet for our animals for years, for as long as I've lived in Colorado, and Warren before that. So Rosie's exhibiting signs of being sick again, of having something stuck in her intestines again at the end of last week. And I panic, of course, because that's what I do. The end of the story is that all is well. But, I think it's bad enough when your kids are sick. When your pets are sick, oh my gosh, it's like having a baby that's sick. You can't tell them. They don't understand when you're trying to make them feel better, and they don't understand what's going on, and they can't tell you what hurts or what feels badly. And oh my gosh, it's stressful and sad and ugh. So I will say, though, that if your dog ever gets a blockage, I read some, this is so me, but I read some homeopathic what to do. Because really, if you actually have an intestinal blockage or a bowel blockage, all they can do is surgically remove something. There's nothing, it's not like Roto-Rooter. They can't put something down their esophagus to have, that will break down whatever is caught in there. But something I read said, feed them some kind of food covered in like a Vaseline or an oil that will help slide something through. And I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. But maybe if the animal will eat, and oftentimes if they're really blocked, they won't eat. But she ate a bunch of wet food. She was willing to eat wet food. And I can't help but think that helped move things along. So not that I intended to have this first little segment be about my dog's bowels, but that's apparently what it's about tonight. But that's been on my mind, and it's it's been so sad. It's been so sad.
Well, it is very stressful with pets and all.
But that doesn't really happen with cats, does it? I mean, they
sure
throw stuff up, don't they?
Oftentimes. And the cat that I have, he throws up a little too much, and that's a concern. He's got pancreatitis and has had pancreatitis for a while. He throws up a lot, and there's just nothing. You read all the literature that they can really do. But I will give a shout out to the vet that we used to go to, the Center for Animal Wellness on Santa Fe, Dr. Aubrey Levizo. He's a terrific vet as well.
Nice. It's good to know
so
that they're
free plug night here.
Right? Absolutely.
And watch out with cannabis and your pets. That's in a lot of news articles these days. Just, it's probably not good for them. They say it's a poison in the articles. I'd hope that's not true, but, always just be careful. Be careful with cannabis around your pets.
I've always heard about people whose animals have eaten edibles or what have you, that your animals have eaten edibles, that it freaks people out because they don't know what's happening, and all of a sudden they're lethargic or sleeping and they have no idea.
It seemed to me like he couldn't tell his depth perception.
His depth perception was off.
I felt when I was trying to pick him up, he like,
Oh, my dog, years ago, I had a big Rottweiler who ate about a quarter. And the only way that we knew was because the quarter was missing. He showed zero signs of anything being wrong. He was already a pretty lethargic dog. Like his favorite thing was pretty much to lay on his right side and then possibly get up and move over to his left side. So that wasn't anything different. He didn't get sick. Not that I'm saying that this is good for all dogs. I mean, he was a really big dog, and so that probably aided. I mean, your dogs, Chris, are pretty little, and so any amount probably has a exponential effect.
scared the shit out of me.
I bet it scared you. So there's been some newsy things that I guess we should probably talk about.
Newsy news.
Newsy news, not snoozy news, but newsy news. There have been a couple of states that are moving more quickly towards legalizing medical marijuana. New Hampshire is one of them. This may finally be the year that New Hampshire passes medical. The governor has already said that he will sign it if it passes and gets to his desk. More than 70% of those polled in New Hampshire are proponents of legalizing for medical purposes. So yay, New Hampshire. But damned if my home state of Florida isn't thinking about it really hard. I didn't think it would ever really happen. And I'm still a little pessimistic. But yeah, Florida, Florida Cannabis Action Network is advocating for a sensible cannabis policy and, really trying to put together a good bill. There's an effort by Democratic Senator Jeff Clemens from District 27, Palm Beach County, to create a bill that would legalize medical marijuana. Other bills have failed, but supporters have said that the legalization of marijuana in Washington and Colorado for recreational use have opened the doors of opportunity, but there are, of course, people against it. Groups like Centers for Drug-Free Living in Orlando say they don't take a stance whether it should be legal or not, but they think their treatment facilities would feel an impact. Okay, maybe so. But overall, the fact that while the bill is still in the drafting stage, that we're once again at that point where even conservative Florida is looking at and have opened their eyes to the possibility that marijuana, that cannabis for medical purposes could be something that they would be willing to approve in that state is just fantastic.
It would be great to have more southern states go for medical marijuana. Is there one now? I'm trying to think of all the ones that have passed medical marijuana.
No, I mean Arkansas went belly up.
Yeah.
So yeah, there aren't southern states, and there is an abundantly large population of people over the age of 50 in Florida, and the benefits for those folks. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, "Gosh, my grandmother in Florida is suffering from cancer, and it would be so great if she had cannabis to be able to aid her in getting through her treatments and those kinds of things." Other people, topicals for their arthritis and bursitis and all those kinds of things. And it's no longer stigmatized. While Florida's a pretty conservative state, I think people recognize that we're now at 20 states plus the District of Columbia. It's a lot of states. That's a lot of states.
Yeah, Florida's had big pushes as far as presenting medical marijuana to people. In the past year, we had like the Silver Tour with Robert Platshorn.
Yep.
He served a long time in federal prison for a marijuana charge, but he's come out and he wants to educate people about marijuana. And unfortunately, due to his parole situation, they're cracking down on his ability to do that. And he's going to be like under house arrest for quite a long time and won't be able to leave. But he educated thousands and thousands of people over the past year or two. But yeah, it's great to hear a conservative state like Florida is doing that. And New Hampshire, mixture of conservative, live free or die. What are they saying with marijuana? They don't have legal marijuana. It's die.
Right?
Die.
Well,
Die.
and think about. I mean, New Hampshire is getting squished out by these legal states that it's surrounded by.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to say no when you're surrounded on all sides.
It's pretty incredible for me, originally coming from New Jersey, that New Jersey has medical marijuana of a sort now. Whereas New York State doesn't even have it. You'd think New York is a liberal state or something like that.
Yeah.
But not really. It's a really pretty conservative state in a lot of regards.
Well, certainly in regards to this, I mean, they're definitely a holdout.
Yeah.
But my fingers are crossed. New Hampshire, you can do it. Florida, God, I would just be happier in a pig and I would be really happy.
Compost.
Yes, pig and compost. So speaking of legal states in the District of Columbia's first medical marijuana center is going to open in April. I wonder if they'll try to open on 420. How cliche is that?
We've got to push for a new national holiday.
That's right.
I want off on 420.
That's right. It's a place called Capital City Care located in northwest D.C. It'll be among the 6 licensed dispensaries to eventually operate in the District of Columbia, enabling patients with prescriptions from bona fide physicians to legally obtain marijuana. However, in order for patients to get prescriptions, why do they use this prescription word? It makes me crazy. Their doctor's name should be among some 100 physicians who have reportedly expressed interest in participating in the program. So in order to be a patient in DC, you have to, the approved conditions are HIV, AIDS, glaucoma, MS, cancer, and their catch-all of other conditions that interfere with the basic functions of life. I have never heard of such a catch-all.
Yeah.
Other conditions that interfere with the basic functions of life. Whoever wrote
that
DC's,
could be a hangnail.
It could,
really.
Oh my gosh.
It really could be a hangnail.
I've had splinters that have definitely gotten in the way of my
You got some bad gas.
Sunburn. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you would certainly want a topical for that.
Yeah, I see. Do you see my burn? Can you see my burn? It's a pretty nasty burn. I really do have one.
Yeah.
Isn't that awful? I didn't put any cannabis on it, which is why it looks like that. So yeah, in April they're gonna open up, and that's just fantastic. The other dispensaries are waiting for final approvals from city officials. The limit has been set by the DC Council on the number of cultivation centers that would be allowed, particularly in Ward 5, which is where most of the land that's zoned for cultivation is located. So they're really trying to be cautious and thoughtful about the amount of licenses that they give. But DC is going to open. That's going to be fantastic. Capital City Care. Check it out. That is pretty awesome. So speaking of medical, Chris, you always make me take a break.
We're going to take a break?
Yeah. When we come back, we're going to talk about the latest country to legalize medical marijuana. And then
later in the show, we're going to do our history segment and speak with a gentleman named Uncle Mike, who's going to discuss the first convictions under the federal law against marijuana that took place in 1937 right here in Denver, Colorado. He is the foremost researcher on the subject. And we're going to get his perspective on why studying this history is important, what he's learned along the way. He's compiled a tremendous amount of information regarding early prohibition.
I'm really excited for that. Absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to iCannabis Radio. My name is Georgia. We'd like to thank Cuffle Collimore and Company for being a sponsor tonight. They're able to provide commercial, general liability, and property insurance to dispensaries and growers. Commercial general liability insurance provides up to $1 million protection if you're sued because someone claims to have been injured on your premises or because they got sick. They claim they got sick from something that you gave them. If the edibles made them sick, clients can sue. Make sure that you're covered. Property insurance covers direct physical loss to the business property as well as fire and those kinds of things. Loss of business income can be included under the property policy. This covers the loss of net profits and continuing expenses if the dispensary cannot open due to insured loss. If you're looking for insurance or if you want to quote and see if your insurance is giving you the best deal, make sure you call Cuffle Collimore and Company for more information. 877-335-1234. That's 877-335-1234 and ask for Bob. Or feel free to email at rtc@iwic.net. That's rtc@iwic.net. Call Cuffle Collimore and Company for your commercial, general liability, and property needs. We'll be right back.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
It's just the city.
Hi, welcome back. Welcome back. You're listening to iCannabis Radio. It's Monday night. So a couple little things before we get on to Greg's history segment. So the Czech Republic legalized medical marijuana a few days ago. Signed into law legislation that made it legal in the Czech Republic to use marijuana for medical treatment. The law had been approved by both the House and the Parliament when the president signed it into law. It allows marijuana to be imported.
Wow.
It allows marijuana to be imported. I just feel the need to emphasize that because holy cow, really?
They're not allowing grows there?
Later,
Later.
They will be able to grow locally by registered firms licensed for such activity, but it's currently illegal. Patients will need a prescription. Again, maybe they do that in the Czech Republic, from a doctor to get the drug at pharmacies, and the treatment will not be covered by health insurance. Patients won't be allowed to cultivate at home. And so this made me wonder kind of what other countries, specifically European countries, but what other countries allow medical marijuana or have allowed or decriminalized marijuana in general. And I found...
Can I take one guess of a country that does have it?
Yes, of course you may.
The Netherlands.
Well, funny that you should mention that country.
The home of Amsterdam.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, in my little table here...
Yeah.
I can go to the Netherlands, and actually, technically, marijuana is illegal.
Well,
it's been decriminalized.
That's right.
It's been decriminalized. I've been doing a lot of air quotes tonight. I don't know what that's about. Cannabis products are sold openly in certain coffee shops, and other types of sales and possessions are not permitted, although the general legal approach toward cannabis is de facto decriminalization. It's decriminalized for sale, transport, and cultivation, although there are exceptions for personal use with cultivation. We were talking a little bit off air about some countries that we kind of made some assumptions about. China, for example, you would think that because of the communist regime that there would be a lot of regulation and you would be thrown into prison for your centuries or whatever. While cannabis is indeed illegal in China, it's cultivated for its seed and fiber and has a long medical history in China. Cambodia Technically illegal, the use of cannabis is widespread among the Khmer people and foreigners visiting the country. Marijuana can easily be purchased and smoked in public areas without the threat of arrest. Many quote-unquote happy restaurants publicly offer food cooked with marijuana or as a side garnish.
Jeez, it sounds like Denver.
I thought that was really interesting that they actually have infused restaurants. That sounds fantastic.
Where is this again? I'm sorry.
Cambodia.
I'm going to Cambodia.
I'm going
Now
to Cambodia.
the Dead Kennedy song "Holidays in Cambodia"
Right?
is really appropriate.
That's right. My cousin was a missionary in Cambodia for many years. I'm not judging that one way or the other. Argentina, Tina, what do you think about Argentina? Legal or illegal?
I would say legal.
Decriminalized, legal for personal use in small amounts and for consumption in private locations. Public consumption is generally accepted among young adults. Consumption for medical purposes is accepted but not legalized. Cultivating, selling, and transporting large amounts is illegal and punishable. A lot of, when I went through these countries, and it doesn't have every country, but of this list of maybe 50 or 60, 24 had de facto legalization, decrim, those kinds of things. And a lot of them marijuana is still illegal. The punishment for minor possession really pretty minuscule. A little bit of a fine. There were some countries, of course, that went overboard, but for the most part, pretty interesting. I wanted to read. Where'd it go? Oh, you had asked about France, right, Greg?
Yes, I have, because I think of them as everybody thinks of them as a very liberal, forward-thinking country, but they're very prohibitionist, and I'm just wondering where they still stand on cannabis at this point.
Right now, cultivating, selling, owning, or consuming cannabis is prohibited, illegal.
No exceptions.
No exceptions.
No wiggle room there like some of the other countries.
That's right.
I brought up the Netherlands because I'm pretty sure they have like a licensed cultivator for pharmacies in the Netherlands, and it just occurred to me that those folks in Czechoslovakia for importation, it might be coming through the EU in some kind of pharmaceutical way, just like any other drug would, from pharmacy to pharmacy, because there is a distributor to pharmacies in the Netherlands.
You may very, very well be right. Absolutely. Estonia, teeny tiny country of Estonia, up to 10 grams is considered an amount for personal use and punished with a fine. Large amounts in distribution are criminal offenses and punished with a fine or up to 5 years in prison. But 10 grams, which is more than the Netherlands are allowed. Yeah. The Netherlands is half that. I thought that was pretty interesting. I had read, Iceland. You think of Iceland as being a pretty liberal country.
Yeah, Scandinavian though, right?
Right. Consumption is illegal even in small amounts.
Yeah.
Possession, sale, transportation, and cultivation could result in jail time. Possession is not strictly enforced, but heavy fines are given. Here's my favorite. I wanted to tell you about India. So possession is regulated by the governments. Sale is in legal government shops. Transportation is illegal. And cultivation is illegal except for with government permission. So used during the observance of Hindu rituals, government-owned shops in holy cities sell cannabis in the form of, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, hang, B-H-A-N-G.
Bang, yeah.
Bang.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the high prevalent use of the law makes it illegal to possess any form of psychoactive cannabis. However, this law is rarely enforced and treated as a low priority across India. Thank you, India. Further, large tracts of cannabis grow unchecked in the wild in many parts of the northern and southern India, and in many states as well. The Northeast have their own laws allowing cannabis locally known as ganja. So it's really interesting. I actually just found this on Wikipedia, so check it out. And remembering that Wikipedia is only as good as the information that people put in it, so it may not all be 100% accurate or completely up to date. But I found that pretty interesting.
Right. Be careful in France.
Be careful in France. And then one more really quick thing before we get on. So if you saw our Facebook page earlier, I put a picture up, and Chris is going to put it up right now. these two things are not like the other. Does the plant on the left look like the plant on the right?
Sort of.
Sort of.
You might have confused me at one point.
Well, maybe at one point.
A little more, I don't know. It's indica on the left and sativa on the I don't know.
Yep, on the left is a leaf from the Buckeye plants. In Shelby County, Tennessee, a black SUV pulled behind a Mustang being driven by a cute couple coming back from an unfortunate funeral, driving from Ohio to Texas after attending a funeral. Blue lights flashing. A 65-year-old pulled over in a panic in her throat. She didn't know if she was being pulled over for speeding or what, but the officer, a Shelby County Sheriff's deputy, said he was pulled over because of the decal on the back of her car.
Right.
And the decal on the back of her car, she thought, gosh, what happened?
Yeah.
Did someone put something on my car that I didn't know about? What was it? The officer said that they'd been notified by an officer outside their jurisdiction who'd seen her driving down I-40. The deputy asked her why she had a marijuana sticker on the back of her car. And when she thought about it, she realized she had an Ohio State Buckeyes football helmet decal with the Buckeye leaf to signify gridiron success that was in the back of her car. She's an Ohio State fan. She had that in support of her team. When the embarrassed officer, let her go, they thought about it later. First of all, I mean, is that like the symbol for I'm a drug smuggler? I'm going to put a marijuana leaf sticker in the back of my car.
In Tennessee, better safe than sorry pulling over a car like that, especially if it will lead to prohibition-related
Right.
income. So.
Right. I mean, just ridiculous. There was no probable causes, no reason to pull her over. I mean, the decal could have really said "fuck the police," and they still didn't have a right to pull her over.
Right.
Yeah. So just be really, really careful. And just in case you're curious, the picture on the right, that is indeed a marijuana leaf. Left Buckeye, right marijuana. So that's my lesson to you.
Be kind, Buckeyes.
Be kind, Buckeyes. All right, Greg, it's all you.
It's all me. Once a month. Last half hour.
Love it.
We're going to speak with a gentleman tonight, as I indicated, who's going to tell us about his research passion and why he's learned more about the earliest prohibition arrests in the nation under the federal law, which happened here in Denver, than anybody else has. And we're going to give him a call, Uncle Mike, and discuss some of what he's found out.
That's fantastic. We ready to call him now?
Sure.
All
I
right.
think so.
Calling Uncle Mike.
Should we do it after the break?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
We're going to take a break, Mike.
Well, we're going to take a quick break.
Yep.
We're going to thank our friends at Medical Marijuana of the Rockies, mmrockies.com, your mountain source for meds. Next time you are heading up to the mountains, which for me and for Chris, that would be tomorrow. Make sure you hop off exit 203 in Frisco and go to just behind the Big O Tires to Medical Marijuana of the Rockies. Tell Jerry that you heard about his wonderful store on iCannabis Radio. They have a fantastic strain selection, which varies every single day. You can check out their website, mmrockies.com. They also carry an extensive clone selection. So if you're looking to buy immature plants, check out their selection or give them a call. Their phone number is listed on their website. That's mmrockies.com in Frisco, Colorado, your mountain source for meds. They are fantastic. Go see them. And speaking of going places, I'm going to send you to Nodo Urban Garden Supply, yet another one of our wonderful sponsors, located at 1330 27th Street in Denver, Colorado, just about 4 blocks north of Coors Field, a block and a half north of MMD of Colorado and Castleman's. And if you are looking to start a home grow now that Amendment 64 allows any adult 21 and older to do so, they can help you out with all of the equipment that you need, giving you any tips and guidance along the way. They're open Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nodo Urban Garden Supply. You can visit them on the web at nodourbangardensupply.com. This is a great opportunity for you if you've been dying to see what it's like to grow some of those baby girls. They can really help you out. Nodo Urban Garden Supply. And thank you for their sponsorship. Make sure that you tell them that, again, you heard about them on iCannabis Radio. We will be back in a minute.
The law offices of Edson, Maiden, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
Hi. Welcome back. Uncle Mike, thank you for waiting. We are going to go ahead and give him a call and talk a little bit about Samuel Caldwell.
Hello.
Hello, Uncle Mike. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, great. How are you doing?
Doing fine, thank you.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for being on iCannabis Radio tonight.
Appreciate it. It's great having me.
Thank you.
Mike, do you want to tell us your full name, or is Uncle Mike good enough?
To tell you the truth, I've used that pretty much all my life. I kind of got the name off the rock and roll movie, kind of the heavy metal afterthought on the whole movie scene, and I just kind of gone with that name all my life. It's kind of has to do with the whole right and wrong, good and evil kind of battle between the the whole life issues.
Excellent.
Do you have a Facebook page, or how would people learn more about what you've done?
My research is all around the marijuana history, and specifically Colorado, because it was basically the hub of prohibition back in the day. And I've got a website called Uncle Mike's Research, and I basically invite people to come in and do research with me. And I'm always hoping that somebody from one of these crazy reefer cases will always contact me and give me some insider info and things like that.
So how did you start doing this, Mike? What prompted you to start doing this extensive research?
Well, my family was always political, but unfortunately, like most activists, I was kind of born out of a conviction. So, after I got released from jail, I got even more active, and figured, well, what really helps out the movement is having material and history, so you don't repeat your same mistakes. And so I went out there and started developing a book, and I had this girl basically go through and edit the book for me after I was, nearing its end, and she was like, have you checked into these quotes? And, like all good authors, I'd done what everybody else did. I went to the previous book, and taken out quotes out of that and just transferred the references. And I told her honestly, no, I hadn't. I just did like everybody else. And I took her advice, and I went out there and I started checking in the quotes. And surprisingly, either quotes didn't exist at all, or they were different, or they were vastly different. It was just it blew me away as a person who was always fascinated with history, that so much of it is just God, I don't know if it's made up or. It's just, it's amazing what happens out there in the history, and we kind of lose it along the way by not transferring our references as we go along.
It's like the game of telephone. It starts off being one thing, and by the time it gets to the 10th person whispered in their ear, it's completely changed and different.
Oh, yeah, it's just like that telegraph game we used to play when we were a kid, and you whisper in the air, and it goes around. By the time it gets to the end, it's totally different. You're like, wow, what happened here? And sometimes you can't figure it out. It's just like that.
Well, in the research you've done, it's regarding these two gentlemen who were the first arrests under the 1937 federal law against marijuana, because there had been state laws before. Colorado had laws against marijuana. But one of the fellas, Moses Baca, he was a repeat criminal who beat people up, did a lot of breaking and entering, and he had beaten his wife while he was drunk. At least that's what the police said a few days beforehand, and they came back and found this marijuana. Isn't that correct? And then they made him out to sound like it was the marijuana that drove him almost nuts enough to kill his wife.
Yeah, it was. It's really a crazy case because all the history points to the white guy as being the first conviction when it was actually the Mexican, which goes along with the whole repression theory of minorities and things of that sort. And so yeah, it's really a crazy case where you get into the literature and you start going to the federal archives, and all of a sudden I noticed that hey, Mr. Baca is ahead of Mr. Caldwell in the files, and lo and behold, Mr. Baca's file was never opened, so basically everybody had been following the Reefer Madness cases and just going to Caldwell's file and saying, this is the first guy, and this is what we're going to go off. But in reality, it was Mr. Baca that was the first. And yeah, he had a sordid history of, he was not only an alcohol drinker, but when he couldn't get his alcohol, he would resort to sterno. And so, as you can imagine, that stuff can just fry your brain. And unfortunately, he came home drunk and beat his wife. But of course, when it hits the papers, he was smoking marijuana, that vicious weed, So
that makes you so violent.
What's that?
That makes you so violent.
Oh yes, and what's really sad is when I've done all this history, a lot of times when I'm investigating different Reefer Madness cases, you'll see they'll all be blaming it on weed, but then you'll find one reporter that will mention alcohol. And it's almost every case I've ever investigated, the recurring theme is alcohol.
Yet, according to what you found, and this is one of the great research pieces that you found, is there was a marijuana conference held on December 5th, 1938, in the IRS building in Washington, D.C., and the first drug czar, Harry Anslinger, who led the charge to get marijuana made illegal federally, he says some wild stuff, Mike, and you found this document. And one of the things he says is, marijuana users, when arrested, want to fight. Their motor impulses seem to be working. It takes sometimes 4 or 5 officers to subdue a man, and they sometimes wreck the living quarters in doing so. We do not have anything like that in arresting opium users.
Yeah, it's just incredible how, off the wall. It's just sometimes I'd be reading with a shovel. You just have to keep on shoveling. It would get so deep. I mean, it's just incredible, the propaganda that we were trying to feed people. And at some points I'd be reading an article, and they would be repeating what the public was saying about this, and they'd be, get them, hang them, kill them. It's just like, really, it just astonishes me, the intensity of the Reefer Madness back in the days. And it's all because I think, as my point of view, that you've got a repeal of prohibition coming up, and everybody loves their social drugs. So instead of letting somebody attack your social drug, you just blame weed. And so every time something happens, somebody gets drunk and does something bad, you blame it on weed.
Right, exactly. So what have been some of the most surprising things that you found in your research?
Oh boy, just the amount of, I guess, people kind of, the whole following the herd and following references and not looking, even like I said with the Baca file, it was just one number, before Caldwell, and nobody ever bothered to look in the next file. A lot of things, a lot of times the government's actually kind of, they make it as hard as possible for you to get that information, like with the Denver Police Department and trying to get the Baca's records from them. They basically, if you request the records, they're going to give you this transcription, and it basically takes out all the Mexican references and anything that's basically bad looking for them. And they give you this rehearsed version. But if you go in there, this is my trick, because I went there at night, and I would submit my request during the night shift, and there's no managers, and they make you photocopies instead of this transcription. And what's funny, though, they're so inept that they wouldn't give me the whole copies. So a lot of times I think I requested and paid for the information 6 different times, and then I got all these different copies and pasted them all together to recreate the whole file.
Wow.
And so it's just amazing how hard they make things, and they think they're, being clever, but there is ways of getting the information. And I did get the original first, marijuana ticket that Moses Baca received, and it was in there. And it took me 3 copies to piece that one together. And so when you look at my book, sometimes you'll notice the pages are actually just pieced together because I got it in several different sections, and I had to literally recreate these files from scratch.
So what is the ticket? What does Baca's ticket say?
Well, it starts off at a half ounce, but I've noticed that typically by the time they've reached court, it's down to about half. So he starts off at a half, and he gets there at a quarter. So, and it was, I guess they found it in his bureau drawer after they searched his house, after they got him for being drunk and disorderly.
I'm looking through this file of his. You've got like at least 18 pages from the Denver Police Department of their dealings with this guy and photos of him. Didn't live too long either. It was about 30 or something when he died. Is that right? Does that seem to match up with your recollection at least?
Yeah, he basically, it's a hard life back then, and when you're drinking Sterno and other things to get your alcohol fix, I can imagine it has your toll on you. And he moved up to California after his conviction and died soon after. But it was just amazing the amount of history that's been just basically lost to people going along with even the reefer madness stories even today.
What led you to travel to the drug czar, Harry Anslinger? He was the first drug czar basically in the United States of America. What led you to travel to his archive? And where is that again? Is that State College, Pennsylvania? Yeah,
in Penn State College. Yeah, it's his alma mater. And the guy, I love, scrapbooks, and this guy was a hell of a scrapbook maker. And he would clip out all those articles, and people would send them, and he would request them, and he would arrange them all in these little scrapbooks. And he would, stick the article and the date and the title and everything. And there was just literally cartons after cartons that they brought me when I went to visit his collection. And it was like 6 cartloads full. And the only disappointing thing was that he used a bad glue. And so a lot of the titles and the dates and stuff, when you'd open the pages, they'd fall out in your lap. And it was heartbreaking because when I got home, I spent like 6 months trying to figure out the references for all these articles because in my point of view, if there's no reference, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so, I spent just months after coming home trying to figure out a reference for all the great material I'd found. It was a fabulous collection, but at the same time, it was heartbreaking.
What were some of the things that he what were some of the articles that he collected?
He would just virtually collect anything from cocaine to marijuana, and he had it up in different categories in different years and different subjects occasionally, and things that people would send him. And I was looking for a lot of those reefer madnesses cases that people would send him, and but of course a lot of it is up in the Narcotics Bureau too. So it's kind of his records are split between 2 departments, the library there, and it was just fascinating. I was trying to also find some of the Florida articles from the famous Victor Licata case down there, and
he was a gentleman who was maybe a little mentally unstable and took an axe to his entire family. Is that correct? Was that in New York State? But Anslinger blamed marijuana on that.
Yeah, somebody from the department sent him his picture and an article, and from that point on, it was his one of his most favorite reefer madness articles. I mean, he just loved to recount the Licata case, and it was just and that's the one of the few cases that I'm finishing up going through, and it's just one twist after another. I mean, it was some crazy stuff during Prohibition times going on in Tampa, Florida area with the mob and all sorts of different drugs coming from overseas, plus the alcohol and everything else being made on our soil, and it was just a crazy time down there. And just like up in Denver, it's a lot of different things going on that kind of you got to wonder, am I getting the whole case here, or is there more to it? There's just so much history out there.
Take a break in 1 minute.
All right, we're going to take a break in a minute, Mike.
Sounds good.
All right, you're listening to iCannabis Radio. I'm Georgia. It's Monday night, and we will be back after these messages.
Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706. Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it on grass. runongrass.com.
Hi, this is Gavin Edson, and you're listening to my mom, Georgia Edson, on iCannabisradio.com.
We're back, and I'm Georgia Edson. I can't even say it like he says it. It's so cute. Uncle Mike, thanks for holding on during the commercial. We appreciate it.
You bet.
We're talking to Uncle Mike, who has done some amazing research on some of the prohibition era arrests and those kinds of things, and his information can be found on unclemikesresearch.com. You guys check it out. He would love some input, and if you have any information to share as well. So one of the questions that I have, Uncle Mike, is when did you start collecting all of this information?
Well, as soon as I got out of jail, and finished my sentence, I became twice as active and just started reading every kind of book I get a hold of. And they all
what year around what year?
That was about 1990. I started, heavy into it, and that's when I noticed a lot of people coming on the scene, like Laura Creel and a lot of your other friends you've mentioned in past episodes. And I got hooked up with all those people, and I started really getting into it, and I'm just sucking up any kind of material I could read, and just trying to get that overall rounded history that you can use as basically ammunition for fighting people that think this is all just a joke, because what it all comes down to is we lose more freedom from drugs than anything else. When people tell you that drugs, that's just nothing. There's more important things to be concerned about. No, we lose more rights to drugs than anything else. And it's like, if you're not concerned about drug laws, you have no clue what's going on. I mean, that's just flat out the truth.
Well, I agree. One of the things that you have said that I've been thinking about is how many times you have looked back and the information that has been perpetuated has been incorrect. The quotes have been wrong. Those kinds of things. I think that's the stuff that perpetuates reefer madness. People hear things like marijuana makes you go crazy, or marijuana did this, that, and the other thing, and because enough people have said it, it becomes the truth. But if people like you don't clarify what the truth really is and don't help people understand context and really what happened, then we're going to perpetuate more and more untruths and lies, and that's going to become the truth, and that's going to become the truth that people rely upon to make decisions that are ultimately our laws or how we treat people and those kinds of things. And so I think your research is invaluable, and the more people can learn about what really happened, the better. I mean, up until 15 minutes ago, I had no idea about Baca and the fact that it was indeed a man of color who was first arrested in the first Prohibition era arrests.
That's right.
And
about a year or so ago, Normal put out, pot prisoner number 1, and it was a photo of Samuel Caldwell, not Moses Baca. There was some conflict between you and Normal at the time, Mike. Do you want to go into that, or do you want to not go into that?
Well, I'll just briefly touch on it. As I was working through revising my book, trying to find all the quotes and stuff, I had, dabbled into the Caldwell research and realized it was, a big story. And I had briefly mentioned it to Alan St. Pierre of Normal, and he was like, well, stop telling me. He's like, you got to put a book out on just that criminal case study of Baca and Caldwell. And yeah, I thought that was a great idea, and so I took a hiatus from my one book, and I focused just on this criminal case study that became the U.S. District Court book. And I was kind of surprised that because the findings were so different in history, and Normal has have websites and stuff tuned to Caldwell and all these advertising campaigns against prohibition, they didn't really want to embrace my revision of history or the real history, as I would say, and I was just disappointed because the fact is I've looked up to Normal, and I always thought of them as they give all the activists their first, kind of information, and kind of shove them off in the right direction. So when when Alan St. Pierre said the history bell has rung on Caldwell, and it's Caldwell, I was kind of surprised and shocked because I looked up to those people. And
well, I hate to say it, unfortunately. I mean, I've been very clear on the show about my feelings about Normal and Alan St. Pierre in particular, and if it doesn't benefit Alan, he doesn't feel like it benefits anybody. So don't take it personally. It's an Alan St. Pierre-ism that he really he's very tunnel visioned, and what happens in Alan's mind is what he believes is real and what he believes is important. And if they decided that Samuel Caldwell invented the wheel, then they would have pushed that as history as well.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, we all get tied into. I've repeated stuff out of this, these like Denver Post articles and stuff I've talked about myself. Now, a lot of us around the time Mike said he started researching it were really influenced by Jack Herer's book, The Emperor Wears No Clothes. It was a wealth of new information we hadn't known about. He had dug up this historical research, and we looked up to him and wanted to follow somewhat in his footsteps. Now, Mike, I want to ask you, what was the biggest thing you got out of Jack's book and how it impacted you, as well as what you feel like maybe he got wrong in his book?
Well, a few facts I could not track down, although a lot of his, misinformation was based on other people's misinformation, transferring of the quotes and various things like that. But, I kind of tailored my book in a way like his, because I've reproduced, my documents, all the research, so you can basically observe my research, and that book is sitting in front of you. And it's all like a comprehensive, we're not going to tell you, we're going to present you with the facts right here. You can, decide for yourself. And so I looked up to Jack, and although there was some few problems in his book, it was a great book, and I have kind of tailored my book kind of like his. I present the documents so you can make the decision yourself on whether I'm telling the story correctly.
So tell us again, Uncle Mike, how people can find out about your research and get more information.
Well, yeah, definitely. If you've got any information, or if you just like to chew the fat, I'd love to hear you. I'm at UncleMike'sResearch.com. I'm always there waiting for any kind of tidbit of information, or if you knew a famous reefer madness case person, like Victor Licata. There's a lot of Licata family down in Florida, and I'm still doing some research on that case. It was kind of surprised me that the whole reefer madness case kind of turned into a mob case in which they were distributing alcohol and not marijuana. So there's just a whole crazy kind of thing going on in Tampa, Florida, with the reefer history there. So
that almost sounds like a movie, what you're presenting. That would be a great film.
I tell you, if we could get a gangster film going, it would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, set in Tampa in the 30s. I think that would be great.
That sounds wonderful. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. We so appreciate the research that you're doing. I think it's so important. Greg always says that, one of the reasons why we do this history segment is so that we are not bound to repeating history.
Exactly, and that's what Mike says in his own book here. Ever since the fateful day on October 8th, 1937, Americans have been subjected to the federal anti-marijuana propaganda based on nothing but half-truth and lies. Like George Santayana, philosopher and historian, once said in his Reason and Common Sense, progress, far from consisting in change, depends on retentiveness. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. So thank you, Mike, for being on the show tonight, and let's not repeat the past together.
Thank you much. It was great talking with you.
It was so great. Thank you so much. You can reach Mike at UncleMike'sResearch.com. Please, please, please check it out. Incredible, important information. I mean, if we are going to talk to people about cannabis, we need to have our facts straight. We need to be not repeating what we've heard, but having done the research to make sure that what we're saying is true. I have to tell you, there was something, this happens on Facebook all the time. I hate to compare Uncle Mike's research to Facebook at all, and I'm not doing that. But, people have a tendency to share articles and those kinds of things, and they don't bother to read much more than the title of the article, and so they think that they know what it's all about, and they don't. And sometimes the article is something very, very different than what they think it's going to be, or sometimes the article was published 2 weeks, 6 months before, and it's old and it's not new information and things have changed already. But if people don't bother to spend a little bit of time actually reading through this information and looking at it with their own eyes, then we, again, are destined to repeat history. Greg, thank you so much. As always, you did a fantastic job. I look forward to this segment every single month.
Well, thank you, George. It was good to be here again.
Thank you so much. This is a big week on iCannabis Radio. If you guys didn't listen to it today, on Mondays in the lab with Jennifer Murray from Can Labs and Jill Lamoureux from Americans for Safer Access. They have their show on at 3 to 4 p.m. on Mondays. Tomorrow is Tuesday, right? Tuesday? Yeah, just checking. 6 to 8 is Sexpot Radio with our girl Jenny Cush. Thursday, the Hemp Connoisseur Magazine from 4 to 5 and Overgrow the Radio from 7 to 9. And next week we're going to be talking to Michaela's father. She is a little girl in California who has leukemia, and she has been a medical marijuana patient, and we're going to talk to her dad next week, so do not miss it. As always, it's been fantastic. Chris, thank you. I'm going to kick your butt skiing tomorrow. Skiers are so much faster than snowboarders, just the way that works. Something having to do with, not having to sit down every 200 yards and adjust your boots or whatever you do when you sit down. Why do snowboarders sit down all the time? Because you could stand up with the scenery. It's cold on your butt.
No, it depends.
It depends. Greg, it's been fantastic as always. You've been listening to iCannabis Radio. My name is Georgia, and I so appreciate you joining me week after week. And next week is going to be fantastic, so don't miss it. Thanks so much, and have a great week.